mindfulness is what we're going to be talking about. She's mindfulness is the key to making sound choices in one's own best interest. That's my own personal belief. Wendi and I agree with that. She is a licensed professional counselor in private practice. She provides a safe and very non judgmental environment for her clients. In addition, she's a certified teacher of mindfulness and meditation, and she brings these tools into her practice. As she explains, mindfulness helps people create a pause. It allows one to step back and say, what are my thoughts? What are my feelings? It creates a space for people. Uh-oh, what's going on here? I don't want to do that. Hold on a second. Okay, there we go. I'm sorry about that. I forgot to mute it. She says that it creates space for people to make different choices amongst many other beliefs. Wendy's appeared in numerous print and broadcast outlets such as Glamour magazine, the Martha Stewart's Weddings, Wedding Wire, Reader's Digest, and many others. Tonight, she's going to share her very unique insights and solutions to struggles many couples and singles face today, especially during the COVID pandemic. She's going to explain to you how mindfulness and meditation can benefit your relationship with others as well as your relationship with yourself. Welcome, Wendi, to Debruary 2021.
Hi, Deb. Thank you so much for having me. It's so
I'm just thrilled that you're here, young lady.
young. Oh my goodness, it was always just
Hey,
the
like I said, we have to use that word while we can, you can hide in all these grays and stuff.
oh yes, they're well hidden, well hidden.
So let's start, Wendi. Before we get too deep into talking about mindfulness, can you explain for those who that term is new what mindfulness really means?
Yes, absolutely. And you're right. The term is new for so many people. So I hope nobody feels badly if they've heard it like in pop culture, but they themselves don't know what it is because you are in the majority, not in the minority of people. So mindfulness is very simply, it's just being present right here, right now, awareness of this moment. And as we're aware of this moment, we're aware of this moment with a non judgmental and kind, loving attention. And so, just for example, just if you're sitting on a chair, right, just dropping into this moment and noticing the feel of the chair beneath you, the seat
Hmm.
holding you, your arms perhaps where they are in space or on the arms of the chair on your lap, just coming into this moment without judgment, with thoughts of, oh, I'm doing this wrong. I was thinking about something else. Nope, just come back to this moment and notice now. Right. So mindfulness is being fully present in this moment with whatever is there without judgment and with a loving attention.
Wow, that is really hard for a lot of people to do.
Oh,
They're like, in the future, they're worrying about the past. They're running old tapes from the past, old hurts, old dramas, old struggles.
yeah.
That is a challenge.
Yes. And so you say something so interesting because that's so much of my work is about those old tapes that people have. And most of the time, we have to figure out what those old tapes are and make connections for them and help them understand because a lot of the time, those old tapes are playing unconsciously. And someone's walking around just not feeling good enough in the world, not feeling like they deserve anything, and they have this narrative, this story that they tell about themselves. And so what mindfulness is, it's awareness. It's awareness plus the loving attention that you bring to the awareness. It's said that mindfulness is like a bird with two wings. This is not my quote, and I don't know the person who quoted it, but I learned this in my training. And one wing of the bird is awareness itself, but the other wing is the tenderness and loving presence that we bring to whatever is being known. And mindfulness is not complete without the two. So that
Mm,
person that's walking around feeling like a piece of garbage in the world, right? First of all, to become aware, oh, what is it that I'm telling myself about who I am in this world? And, um, you know, to get in touch with that. When you get in touch with that, not to say, oh God, look what an idiot I am. All I do is talk to myself badly, right? But to bring compassion to that, say, wow, it's really hard to walk around this earth feeling like I don't deserve or I'm not good enough.
I would think that takes more energy, but unfortunately, that is what a lot of women tend to do. You know, they just basically beat themselves up and fill their head with messages of pain and lacking and not being good enough and being comparing themselves to other people where they come out on the short end of the stick. And
Mhm.
the situation is not, if they really open their eyes and, as you said, became mindful, they could see that it's really not like that. They're in their memory banks or something. I don't even, I'm not a, mental health professional. I don't know how, what all the terms are. I'm
Mhm.
just telling you what I've seen, and
Oh,
it just amazes me.
mhm. Yeah. Well, that's the narrative. There are the events that happen in our life, and then there's the meaning that we make of them. And that meaning is the narrative, the story that we tell ourselves about who I am in this world. And as you say, women especially, who sort of, oh, especially, various different ethnicities and just people I've worked with, where does a woman fit in gender wise in
Hmm.
society and in the family and in that particular culture? And how is a woman marginalized? How is a person marginalized based on their minority status in the world or their level of privilege in the world? And so all of those things, all the messages we get, spoken and unspoken. Society tells us a whole lot. You don't have to believe that your body should, you don't have to get a spoken message that your body should be a certain way as a woman. All you have to do is open a magazine or turn on the TV, right? And oh, am I supposed to look like that? Oh, that's what a man wants. And that's what I'm supposed to be. And I don't look anything like that. Boy,
Yeah,
how does that work? Yeah.
that's really sad, but you're right. Is that a lot of teenage girls get started down that path, so their self-esteem is shattered before they even reach 16.
Mm. Oh, yeah. Starting in elementary school, I think it can really even begin then.
Oh my
Sadly.
God.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about what, when someone's not living mindfully, what does that look like? What kind of things would they do, or how would they perform in the world? That kind of thing, like some concrete examples so people know, okay, if I do this, I'm mindful. If I do this, I'm not.
So that's a great question. And, of course, nobody, and probably not even monks who meditate probably much of their day, can be mindful all the time. But when we cultivate mindfulness in our lives, we cultivate awareness in a way, and sitting in meditation is one way to do that. We can open some space up. And I like to use this quote by Viktor Frankl, who says, between the stimulus and the response, there's a space. And in this space is our power and our freedom. So here's a concrete example, right? Someone maybe who tends to be very reactive with anger. And if I'm working with either with friends or a couple, right? So something happens and they get really mad and react, right? And, oh my God, you're such a jerk. I can't believe you did that to me. And you don't care about me, right? Okay, and all that. And that is kind of a pattern in their life where they have maybe a lot of conflict with people. So what's happening there is there's no space. Something's happening, boom, they're reacting.
Right.
Mindfulness, this space in between, is the place where we get control over our emotions versus our emotions having control over us. It is a space that gives us the opportunity that instead of reacting, we can respond, right? We have a pause. We can say, oh, oh my God, I notice I'm having a big reaction here. I felt it hit my body. I know that the usual thing I would do is start yelling at that person, but let me take a breath. Let me pause. And maybe that person is too agitated, too escalated, too triggered to even deal with it in the moment. But just stopping and pausing, you can say, I'm just going to step outside, or I'll talk to you later. And I need just to think about this. You have a choice to do something different. And you also have a choice to stay and engage, but engage differently, right? But it depends if you're too activated, and that's okay. But if you know it, you still have a choice to do something differently, even if that different thing is stepping away, right? Again, with compassion. It's not easy to feel that way. It's not easy to feel angry. It's not easy to feel hurt. And to bring compassion to this experience, not judgment of, oh, here I go again, getting mad. I'm going to yell at this person and maybe ruin another relationship in my life or whatever it is, right? But being able to take a breath, take a pause, step back. And even if it's not in that moment, to take some time, it can be done in the context of meditation, absolutely, or just some time of thoughtfulness where you're thinking, what was going on for me? Because oftentimes under the anger, almost always, there's anger. I like to call anger like the great protector. It is this
Hmm.
superhero that comes in, it's a defense, it wraps its shield around us because it's real easy to be tough, and it's much easier to be tough than it is to be soft and vulnerable.
Right.
And but until we get in touch with the drop underneath that anger and see what's there, and very often, as you brought up earlier, those old stories are playing, that trigger is getting pinged, that not good enough, not good enough, and that person never called me back, and I went off on them, but really it was about me feeling not good enough. Because maybe they forgot, or maybe they were busy, or maybe they really didn't care about getting in touch with you. But that still doesn't mean you're not good enough.
Right.
It's that can be playing not even in our consciousness, but when we open space to sit and allow, that's what meditation does. It opens space to allow for all of that to come up because it's already there, right? Kind of leave space for all those unconscious knowings to emerge.
I see. And one of my favorite techniques, and don't think that I figured this out after many years of existence,
Mhm.
is when I'm in a situation where something is triggered and during that space that you're talking about, I never thought about that, but that is what's going on. I sit there and I think, okay, I took it this way. What other way could they have meant that?
Mhm.
And so rather than jump to a conclusion and respond to my jump to conclusion as if it is a fact, I will ask that person, okay, you said this. What did you really mean? What did you mean by that?
Mhm.
And very often I find they're like scratching their head, like, what are you talking about? I didn't, I just meant blah, 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 blah. And so then you're like, oh, and find
Mhm.
that you're upset for no, you were going
Yeah,
down that road for
yeah,
no reason at all. Cause they're like, what are you talking about?
yeah. So you have an ability there to stop, to feel like, oh, was that an insult? Well, maybe it wasn't, and that there's a strong enough core within you to say, I am okay. Who I am is okay, and let me check in with that person. Let me just check in, because you think about all the other ways that could go, right? You could blow up. You could just walk away, right?
My that's me.
With this is perfect. And put me at the front of the line. We all have our moments, right? We all have our moments where we get a little more reactive. But yes, so that is absolutely what I'm talking about. Creating some space to take a pause, to not go into those usual habitual patterns, whatever they are. Maybe it's not fighting with someone. Maybe it's substance use. Maybe it's overeating to soothe ourselves. Maybe it's just, doing something that is not ultimately useful
Right.
in your life. And so awareness is the key. Awareness and compassion is the key. It
So
doesn't
what are the benefits to changing yourself and living in a mindful way? How do we sell this to them, Wendy?
Yeah. So, well, think about it, right? So, I like to tell this funny story of when I was first learning about mindfulness and meditation, and I downloaded this CD off of iTunes about meditation, and it was like $10, and I thought, okay, let me see what this is about. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden she says, okay, so now we're going to spend the next 10 minutes in meditation after she explained what to do, and was quiet. And I thought to myself, I just spent $10 to have nothing on this CD. Are you kidding me? So, but I have learned, right, that cultivating awareness is not just about sitting in the present moment. It is, because there's so much research there that tells us when we do that, when we allow present moment time, it calms the body, right? Overall, it has wonderful benefits on the body. But it's a myth that mindfulness and meditation, that a time in meditation will always be relaxing. That's not the case, because you never know what is going to come up.
Oh,
But we can, so for example, if we take what we were talking about before, right? If that person were to take that experience of not reacting in the moment, feeling badly because someone didn't call them or attend to them in the way they thought they should be attended to, and they take that into a meditation, and they just allow for that space to be there. They bring it to mind, they bring their thoughts to mind around it, their emotions, very importantly the experience in the body. The body tells us so much. The body holds experience, and especially trauma, right, or difficult experiences. One of the seminal books on trauma by Bessel van der Kolk is called The Body Keeps the Score. Because memories and trauma, not to digress too much, but traumatic memories are not stored like regular memories are stored. And part of what holds it is our body. So people may not have a conscious memory of something happening, but their body tells them, oh my God, what's going on for me right now? This reminds me of the time when, right?
hmm
And so very importantly, getting in touch with the whole of our experience, thoughts, emotions, and the experience in our body. And that's what gives us access to understanding what's below the anger. Oh, I felt like, oh, that's just what it felt like when I was a kid and nobody heard me. Nobody attended to me. And I had to yell and scream to even be seen, right? That's what that was like. That's more about what that reaction was. Now I'm making it very neat. It's not always all that
right.
and that remembered, but it touches in people, helping you connect with things that happened in the past. And that's part of what psychotherapy is about as well. And mindfulness is just a beautiful way and a compassionate way to access things. Because I often say to people, I truly believe this, what you do, people do what they do for good reasons, right? That person who maybe is getting, just to not to beat the example to death, but getting anger is their problem, right? And they're just being angry and reactive to people, right? There's usually a reason why that makes sense. And maybe it is something like, well, as a kid, they weren't heard, or there was no space for their experience, their emotions, because some adult in their life took it all up. And so they
hmm
had to yell and fight to be seen or heard. And unconsciously, we take those coping mechanisms from our childhood, coping mechanisms that helped us survive, and we bring them unconsciously into our adult life. But context changes, and we don't always need those coping mechanisms in the current relationships.
How
And
do you teach mindfulness in your practice?
in my practice, I really do ask people to get in touch. First of all, just understanding exactly what happens. So when you and your, for example, with couples, right? When you and your partner are arguing, what happens? What do you do? What when he or she or they say that, how do you respond? What is it? What is your experience when they say that? Oh, she thinks I'm a failure, and I listen for the words they use, right? Because it tells you a lot. The just the words people use will tell you a
Hmm.
lot about what they're thinking about themselves. Oh, I feel like a failure. Like I can't do anything right in her eyes. Has there ever, tell me when else in your life you felt you couldn't do anything right? And I do extensive histories of people's families of origin, how they grow up, their relationships with their parents, siblings, other people that were influential. What even what religion they are can have a bearing on that, as we talked about earlier.
Right.
The messages you get about being a man, being a woman, being a mother or a father, being someone with an alternative sexuality that doesn't fit into the mold. My goodness, how did that make you feel in this um, Italian Catholic family growing up, but you were gay and you knew you were gay, right? And so, so all of that it is part of, it's connecting the past to the present. That's part of psychotherapy. I mean, any therapist will tell you that, but mindfulness is a way to really get in touch with that. It is a way to work with it, because people say, oh yeah, well, so what? So I get so mad, so what am I supposed to do about it? Because we can't help how we feel, but we can always help what we do with how we feel. And how we feel and what we've been doing lately, obviously in our lives, or they probably wouldn't be in my office, hasn't been working
Good
so well.
point.
Right? Yeah, hasn't been working all that well. And so just slowing it down, beginning to really observe themselves and get in touch. So it is what happens with someone else, whether it's a partner or a friend or a parent or a child, if you have a child. But it's really also, as Tara Brock, who's one of my teachers, says, it's taking the U-turn inside and really saying, okay, and what's going on with me? This happened here in our dynamic, and what's going on with me? Because everything in our families of origin, right, filters into us, and we
Ooh,
bring that to our
that's a
relationship.
nightmare. But it just it really is always interesting. I don't know if this is probably off topic, but when you talked about family, it just always is interesting to me how, say you have, I don't know, 4 children and they all grew up with the same household, same, religion, same whatever, same parents, yet each will experience that very differently
Mhm.
and take something different away. And I
Mhm.
always wondered, how is it some of the kids thrive and others feel like victims? It's
Mm.
just really odd to me.
Yeah, it's a topic of a lot of study. There's a lot of studies that have been done on birth order, because you get, I get a gentleman in my office and he says, well, I had 4 older sisters. Well, that man had five mothers.
Exactly. And he was
And
baby to death.
yes, and so what was it like for him? And then there's also everybody's individual experiences in the world, right? We don't walk the same path every day, and even if we do, we all have a different interpretation of what goes on around us.
So, Wendy, how can us becoming more mindful guide us to better love ourselves?
Great question, right? And so, first of all, remembering Jack Cornfield, another one of my teachers in my program to become a teacher, his word for mindfulness is loving awareness, because to everything that's being known, we are bringing kindness. We're learning to treat ourselves as we would a dear friend who came to you with a problem. You wouldn't say, oh, what's wrong with you? What are you so upset? If you saw your friend
We
come,
wouldn't?
well, well, it all depends. but we might, most of the time anyway, put our arm around them and say, "Oh, sweetie, you're so sad. That's so hard." I know I always said to my kids, if they came home and said someone wasn't kind to them, I would say, "You want me to beat them up for you? If that's okay." Of course, I was kidding. I'm not promoting violence. It was all in jest, and they knew that. But it would get them to smile. I sometimes I encourage people to imagine holding a baby, and that to mentally hold yourself as you would a baby, and give yourself that much love and kindness. And there is the Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh. I believe he's passed away now, but he has a beautiful saying. He says we have to visit our wounded child every day and put our arm around them and say, "Darling, I am here for you." And I think that that's really important.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think,
that's very beautiful.
yeah,
Oh, a lot of people aren't. Let's see, you guys, if you have questions for Wendi, you can start posting them in the chat room and I will relay them to her. We're talking about mindfulness, getting into your own head here, getting control of your emotions and taking good care of yourself. So if you have a question, make sure you do the at Deborah Cooper so that it highlights my name and I can see it, that you have a question. Okay. So Wendi, can you suggest a few, you know, affirmations that might help the viewers get started on this path?
yeah, absolutely. So first, what I wanted to do was sort of clarify the difference between mindfulness and meditation.
Oh, okay. Yes. Good idea.
So mindfulness, and meditation, right? Meditation is a intentional time that we set aside to practice mindfulness, right? So we're just going to maybe sit and focus on our breathing, or focus on our emotions or our body, or whatever it is, some point of reference that we are just going to be in the present moment with. But it is intentional time that we set aside to practice being in a mindful state. But mindfulness can be practiced day to day, at any time of day. You can be driving in your car and just become mindful of your hands on the steering wheel, just the feel of the heat or the air conditioner blowing on you. You can be walking down the street, the smells. You can use your five senses to practice mindfulness. So what meditation does, it gives us some intentional time that we are setting aside to spend in that space of mindfulness. And for the next 30 or 60 minutes, or 5 minutes, or 1 minute, if you any minute that you spend in intentional mindfulness is worthwhile. Taking a shower is a great time to practice mindfulness informally versus a formal practice in meditation. Just feeling the water on your body, the smells of the soap or shampoo, the heat, the all of the experience of right now. And I'm forgetting your original question, Deborah.
I was asking if you had any suggested um, affirmations
Yeah,
that they could, kind of leave here with and get them on the path.
yeah.
Because I
So,
tell you, this whole concept, I think, is going to be new to
mm,
most of the viewers of this interview.
oh, absolutely. Yeah. It honestly is, to most people that I talk to most people that walk in my office. It's like, yeah, we've heard of that, but what is it? Um, I think that just beginning to practice mindfulness in any way you can in your daily life, even if you are just sitting at your desk at work or at home these days, and you just take a moment to breathe and get in touch with the feeling of the breath in the body for 10 seconds, washing the dishes, the water on your hands, the feel of the dishes, the plates, the soap, folding the laundry, the smell, putting the dirty laundry into the washing machine, just the smells, the sensations. You can practice mindfulness informally all the time. Just have an intention to, when you wake up in the morning, okay, it's my intention to just be aware one time today. And at some point during the day, just to say, oh yeah, I said I was going to do that. Well, what can I do? What am I doing right now? I'm eating lunch. Okay. Eating is a wonderful way to practice mindfulness, to smell the food, touch the food first, get a sense of it, take a bite, put it in your mouth even before you chew it slowly, begin to get in touch with every part of the experience of eating the food. So that is some, I would say, for people to begin to incorporate um, just mindfulness informally in their day. And that is one way to begin. If they choose to sit in meditation or to give it a try, don't say, okay, I'm sitting in meditation for the first time and I'm going to sit here for 30 minutes and I'm, not going to move. First of all, you won't do it probably. But
Nah.
even if you sit for 1 minute, set a timer for 1 minute and you just focus on your breathing. Your breathing doesn't have to be any particular way, just normal breathing. Just get a sense of following the inhale, the pause at the top of the breath, the exhale, the pause at the bottom. If the mind wanders, and it will, it's supposed to, we have billions of neurons in our brain and we're wired to think. It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong, it means you're human. And those moments where we recognize, oh, not in the moment, are just as important as the moments where we are sitting with the present moment experience, because it's a moment of waking up. That's what mindfulness is. It's waking up. It's it's gaining awareness. And as you gain awareness, you can't go back. It's kind of like, as much as when you learn something, people can't take that education away from you. You now know this. You're a musician. You've learned all the ins and outs of how music plays. It's hard for you to just listen to a song again the same old
Hmm.
way because you hear it so differently, right? It becomes a part of you. You've woken up to that, to how it works.
Someone has asked a question. Do you have any tips to help with getting back to sleep when you wake up too early with racing thoughts?
Okay. Yes, that is something I hear so often. So I just want to let that person know you are not alone. There are so many people who have told me that. And so the racing thoughts, the anxiety of, oh my God, I got to get this done. I got to get this done. Or, oh, I made a mistake there. I did everything just kind of racing through their minds. Again, to with mindfulness, firstly, just observing racing thoughts. Oh, all these thoughts are there. Mindfulness is kind of like, imagine standing on a mountain, the top of a mountain, and you're watching the clouds float by. And in this case, all those clouds are going to be those thoughts, right? Oh, thought about what I have to do in the morning at work. Oh, thought about that argument I had with the coworker or my partner or my kid or friend or whoever it was. Worry about that doctor's appointment next week. So you're observing. It's about observing experience without being entangled in experience. So the first thing I would offer to this person is just to take a breath and notice, oh, racing thoughts are here. Drop into the moment. What is this like for me? What is it like in my body? What is it like emotionally? Oh, feels anxious. This is what the anxiety feels like in my body. Taking a moment and just letting it be as it is, again, with compassion. And this is really important, not being reactive to it doesn't mean you don't, doesn't mean you want it there. Like, but the truth of this moment is this is how it is right now. Mindfulness is about, ultimately, it's about turning towards versus turning away from, right? All those things that person is, that whoever you are out there, thank you for the question, that you're waking up with, they're already there, right? The stuff we
Right.
push down during the day, emotions that we push down. I always like to say it's kind of like a balloon animal. when you push it down in one place, it doesn't go away. It just goes somewhere else in the system. And so it's all in there. Ultimately, with mindfulness, we need to turn towards versus turning away from. So a lot of times, how are you, whoever you are that asked that question, turning towards or away from things that happen in your daily life, that have happened in your whole life? Oftentimes, again, going back to families of origin, we get this message: you can't talk about anything that's not happy or good. We're only going to smile on the outside. Nobody wrote it down, but people got the message in their families. Really not uncommon at all that I hear that. No, we only talked about happy things in my family. We didn't talk about anything bad. And so I learned very early that you just don't do that. And so
Oh boy.
it's old
That's so unrealistic though.
well, yeah, right.
And it's plus it's like you have children and you have to talk about negative things so you can teach them how to handle them.
Yeah.
Okay, you have another question. How can you practice mindfulness when you live in a hostile environment / living situation? And then in parentheses, she put an alcoholic, verbally abusive spouse, etc.
Oh my. Well, just let's just take a moment, right, and
I
hear
know. Woof.
what we just heard, right? So there's someone who is struggling so much, and thank you for bringing that here. And it sounds like that is what you are noticing. You're noticing the hostility, you are noticing the discomfort around it. Um, it sounds very, very difficult and painful, your environment. But again, we're not just being aware of the happiness and the joy and the like, oh yeah, like this is great kind of thing. It's also stepping into all the discomfort. And then a little more stepping in and beginning to ask yourself the questions around: how do I decide to stay in this place? What would it mean to leave? Um, what would it mean to take care of myself? What gets in the way of taking care of myself? And I realize nothing is that easy. Sometimes there's financial issues, there's children, but
Right.
there, and that it's, and I want to be sure that this is not a judgment, but to get in touch with all of it. What keeps me here? What do I love about this person? Right? What do I worry about? So again, becoming aware and beginning to explore everything that's there. And hopefully, if you have the ability to seek some outside support and help in the way of a psychotherapist to help you navigate all of those questions, because they're not easy questions. So
Okay. Well, let's talk about what you want the viewers, the key points you might want them to take away from this interview.
um, so I think what's so important is that awareness gives us choice. When we have awareness of what's going on, we have choice. We have control over our emotions. So also that awareness comes with kindness, with self-compassion, self-love, treating yourself kindly. And I want to say that many people, if not most people, especially women, will notice, wait a minute, I just can't even get to that point of bringing myself kindness. Like I can't, I get stuck there. I notice the block to that right there. And so awareness of that, starting there, oh, it's hard to bring kindness. And there is a way to work with that, to find someone or some being in your life. Maybe it's a grandparent, living, not living, someone who was kind to you somewhere along the way. Maybe it's God as you experience God. Maybe it's the universe. Maybe it's a pet, right? To at least see or a dear friend, to see yourself through their eyes. If it's hard to bring that self-love to yourself, then to
Okay, good
see it,
idea.
yeah, through the eyes of someone else, because that's so important. And I think awareness, not only does it help us to know what's going on, but it helps us to understand the blocks, right? So, for example, maybe someone's in an unhappy relationship and they want to leave, but every time they think of leaving, they say, nah, I'm just going to stay. Well, what are the blocks? Or what are the blocks to, I'm really not happy in this job and I want to move to another job. Or I'd like to lose weight, but I'm not losing weight, as Jack Cornfield always said, and as he taught us, the blocks are our teachers. We can only be right where we are. So if we're at a block, let's unpack the block and see what's in it. So it really is about what is here right now. And so importantly, it's about turning toward, not about turning away from. And one caveat on that is trauma, right? You want to turn toward, but you don't want to dive into a pool if you can't swim. Right?
Right. That
Maybe,
would be hard.
no, exactly. And I would not want anybody to say, okay, I'm going to immerse myself in this terrible thing that happened to me. And it's too much, because that's possible too. So the awareness applies to, this is at your pace. I realize there's something hard to touch. Maybe all I can do, I know it's there, but maybe all I can do is stand back from the pool and look at it. And maybe tomorrow I'll walk up to the side and put a toe in. But it's at your pace. And so if you reach that point where it becomes too traumatic or feels like it's moving to that, step back. That's okay. There's no rush. But the most important thing is the awareness and the decision to say, okay, I'm not going to push it down and pretend it's not there anymore. I'm going to
Right.
take a breath and I'm going to begin to look over.
So this is a question I ask all of my guests, since this theme this month is self-love. Please define self-love what it means to you.
Oh, wow. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Everybody gets it's been really interesting how many different guests we have, and everybody has a slightly different version of it. It's been very interesting to me.
A story comes to mind, a personal story that happened recently. I've been on a journey of fitness over the last year plus, and I've lost a fair amount of weight, right? And my son, who's in his mid 20s, showed me some picture, was just showing me some pictures. And there's a picture of me before I lost the weight. And I said, oh, I can't even look at myself. I am so fat. And he said to me, and I think he heard it on um, the show Queer Eye, from one of the guys on the show Queer Eye. But he said to me, he said, Mom, he says you have to love every version of yourself. And it made a lot of sense, right? That if you weren't that person, you wouldn't be this person, right? And so I think that from a 26-year-old, young man, right, who said this to me, it's loving every version of yourself, and wherever you are, to bring love and compassion, and know that you have the power to make the changes that you want to make.
Oh, that's wonderful. I like that.
Yeah.
Love every version of you. See, I'm telling you, you guys, between all of you, it's like this is going to be like the definitive guide to self love by 23 different people.
Yeah. Although that belongs to he saw it on the show Queer Eye, so I just want to give credit where credit is due.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Wendi, let's close out the show. Let everyone know where they can find you and
Oh,
find out more information about what you do and how you do it.
oh, sure. Well, I have a private practice in Madison, New Jersey. I have a website, wendydumboff.therapy.com. It's Wendi with an I, because people always spell Wendi with a Y.
Right.
It's wendydumboff.therapy.com. And I'm working remotely now for almost the last year from home. But I see individuals. I have specialized training in family and couple therapy, and also in sex therapy, as well as the mindfulness piece. And I incorporate mindfulness into all of my work.
Yeah, I did really, now that I have a very clear understanding of it, I wouldn't see how it would be possible to do anything without it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Imagine.
thank you.
Yes. Yes. I was just going to say, like in sex, right? Of all things, right? If people are saying, well, I don't want to have sex, if that's the block, just stay right there and open to that block, right? Because there's a lot to be learned.
Evidently.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Wendy, so much for coming by and visiting us and participating in Debruary 2021.
Thank you, Debs. A pleasure to meet you.
Okay, I'll talk to you real soon.
All right.
Bye
Take care.
bye.
Bye bye.
So everybody, that was Wendy. That was really great. I liked this the way that she phrases things and how you can get into your own head and arrest those negative thoughts that you're having, the conclusions that you may be jumping to about yourself as well as other people. The video that we have here on the channel, if you haven't seen it yet, it's called Control Your Emotions. That is the title of the video. And it advocates, I mean, I don't use this term, but it's saying the same thing. Slow down, think before you react, use your brain, and trust what your gut feelings are. So I think, like I told you guys at the beginning, I hope you have your notebooks and that you're making notes from each speaker that you hear, because each one of them has some very valuable information that takes you one step further on the path to loving yourself and treating yourself with more kindness, more understanding, a little bit more confidence in your decisions and what you feel and think. And so, all in all, like we're still pushing. We're only on day 8. We got 20 more days of shows to go. But I'm hoping at the end of it that you see a new version of yourself. And like Wendy said, you're gonna love all versions of yourself. That's the important part. So tomorrow, I don't know what happened to yesterday's show. We had a technical glitch, and I'm really struggling trying to figure out what happened to that. I may have to bring her back and record a show with her and upload it. That's what I'm thinking I'm going to have to do if YouTube cannot figure out, what happened. So I don't know. I've been doing this is 4 years of February, and this is the first time that something like that has happened. So I really, was not too happy about it, but it is what it is. I can't do anything to bring it back if they can't. But what I can do is just record another show with her. At least we would have had some practice, right? So it should be very smooth. But you guys, it's great to see you. We won't be here Tuesday. There will be a premiere, though, of a previously recorded interview tomorrow with Foss Ruggiero. Please stop in and watch it. 6 p.m. is when it starts. And then we have another live stream Wednesday, a recorded show Thursday, and then Friday night is the $5 advice question show. So bring your $5, or you can submit it in, earlier um, via Cash App. But you can do it during the what do they call it? The little donation thing that they have through Facebook. You can do that too on Friday. Not Facebook, YouTube. Anyway, yeah, I'm tongue tied. I will see you guys later and on Wednesday. Okay.